Elections have consequences. Elections have consequences.
Hey, happy Black History Month, everybody. How are you all doing? This is Sandra Sheffray, your host of Race and the Races. And guess what? Y'all see me here all by myself today. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? I'm here today. Not that there aren't any folks that we're trying to interview, but there's some elections that are coming up in about 5 cities in Broward County on March the 19th. So those folks are out there, knocking on doors, passing out flyers, getting it together in order for them to go ahead and, try to win the races that they're running for. The one I'm more familiar with is the city of Pembroke Pines. They have their elections. I think they have about 2 commission seats and their mayor position that's open. So check out City of Pembroke Pines. They have their elections on March the 19th. And there's about 4 other smaller cities that have odd year elections for their commission and their mayoral seat. So take a look at that. Go to broward.soe.org to check on your voter registration status. I think if you haven't registered to vote or your vote by mail ballot, by now you will not be able to vote in those March 19th elections. However, we want you to go ahead and register to vote anyway. Also check your vote by mail status. It's very important. I think Broward Votes is one, and you can also go to broward.soe.org to check your status on whether or not you registered to vote, because there was a change in the law about a year or so ago where you have to yearly register to get your vote by mail ballots. It's not automatic anymore. I believe you have to do it either every 2 years or every year. So pay attention, take care of that, make sure you do those things, right? This is an election year. We have our elections in November 2024. And let me tell you, there's a lot at stake. So make sure you familiarize yourself with the individuals who are running for, commission seats, mayoral seats, school board, all of that. And, don't only focus on the presidential election, because all the politics are local. Those local officials are the ones that have an impact on your everyday life. So you need to know who they are and make sure they're people that are going to do the work that you need them to do in order to improve your life and the life of people that are living in the cities and the counties in the state that you live in, because we do have there are folks that are running for state rep. There are people that are running for state senate. We have, U.S. House of Representative members. They have to run every 2 years. So your U.S. House rep seats are also up. And actually, we have an opportunity this year to change our senator, our U.S. Senator, Rick Scott. He's up right now. Debbie Merkersall Powell is running against him. There's a gentleman by the name of Stanley Campbell that's also in that race. He's actually related to Luther Campbell. So all the 305 people, that's Uncle Luke's brother. And he's also in the race. Go check their website and find out more about them and see if that's the person that you want to go send to Washington, D.C. to represent you from the great state of Florida. Because what I do know is Rick Scott hasn't done much for the great state of Florida. So if we have an opportunity to just finally retire this guy who consistently buys his seats, that will be a very good thing. So Debbie Merkersall Powell is running, Stanley Campbell is running. There may be some other folks in that race, but those are the 2 that I'm familiar with at this time. So we have a lot of opportunity to make some fabulous changes in the state of Florida, and actually throughout the United States, because the people who we send to represent us in Washington, D.C. has a voice in what happens throughout the United States. and the House of Representatives is very vulnerable. The U.S. House of Representatives is very vulnerable in that they only have like maybe 2 seats that they can afford to lose, and then the Democrats take over again. So let's go ahead, get informed. I will do another episode sometime in the month of March. Speaking about this specifically, giving you the names of those individuals that are running. I will also create a document that have all their websites for you to go and check them out. I'll also be scheduling interviews, probably starting in April, because we have primaries in the month of August in Florida. So I would try to get people interviewed as closer to the time for you to vote for them, because what I don't want you to do is forget. So that's one of the reasons why we're not doing our interviews right now. So we will most likely start that series in the month of April. Yes, we're gonna start in the month of April. So y'all saw what my show was called, like why y'all folks y'all know why folks out here supporting Trump, because believe it or not, that man 45 is going to be the Republican nominee for president unless something happens. I don't know what that something gonna be. I don't know what that something can be, but unless something happens, he is going to be the Republican nominee for president. Some people may look at that and say, well, that might make it easy for Biden to win. That's not a slam dunk, because there's a whole bunch of conversations about how Biden is old. There are a lot of folks that are unhappy with the work that Biden is doing. And it's not that he hasn't done things for people to be unhappy about, but the on the other side of that is like he's actually done a lot of great things, but it's not getting talked about because I think everybody's so stunned that, Trump is going to most likely be the Republican nominee, even though he have pending criminal cases in, I believe, 3 or 4 states. I know the one in New York was a civil case. My shero, Letitia James, prosecuted that case, got a judgment against him. I think it's like $300-something million that he has to pay back. And not only that, he's not allowed to even have businesses in the state of New York. And the thing with that is that some people may start thinking about him as a martyr because so many folks are going against him. So his fan base, they're going to even be more supportive. And I'm going to put a name to that in a little bit once I just finish with the background on what I want to say on that. And so, and then he has that case in Georgia going on. And what they're doing with Georgia is another distraction. They're trying to get Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade off the case. That's what those defense attorneys was asking for. So they have a whole trial going on within a trial to say that, she's somehow financially benefiting from the prosecution of Donald Trump. Listen, what that lady's losing and what she has to pay for security and all the death threats that she has on her life, I don't know what amount of money would have been worth that. That's somebody who really is looking at, democracy, because, it's pretty much cut and dry that the man tried to get 11,000 some odd votes in order for him to win the state of Georgia, which is funny in it. It's not funny, but what's incredible about that whole thing was that even if he won the state of Georgia, he was still going to lose the election because he lost more than just the state of Georgia. He needed more than just Georgia in order for him to win. So I guess he figured if he could get one, then he'll work on trying to get the rest. And remember, there was some talk that, what's that guy named from South Carolina? Lindsey Graham was making some phone calls too. So, maybe they had a whole plan about how they thought like this thing was going to work out. But the reality is like, that's not how elections work in the United States. It's one man, one vote, and that's it. And whoever has the most votes at the end should be and is typically the president. However, that really isn't how it all works in the United States, because we do have this electoral college who have to give up their delegates, and based on those numbers, that's how we decide who the president is. That's controversial in itself, because you have people who can win the popular vote, meaning that they have all of the numbers to actually be the president, but it's the electoral college that makes the final decision. So you can get, because some states have more folks than others, so you can have the numbers, but like if you can have all the numbers in California, you won't, because I think they have 55 votes. But if you don't get enough of those other little states in the middle because you're only going to get 55, you're not getting any more than that. But if someone else get more states and add up their numbers and they win the electoral college, they're the ones that get to be the president of the United States. Now, so y'all, I just explained that based on what I remember from like 5th grade civics or something like that, or it might have been a class that I took in 10th grade. I'm not sure. However, I'm old, and no matter which one of them years that was, it was a very long time ago. We talking a very long time ago, but that's okay. So we ain't gonna talk about that. So what I really want to get into today is that I'm stunned by the support for 45, right? But that's because I'm taking a very intellectual approach to this. And I'm also looking at his record and the types of things that he's done to the United States that I'm just like, y'all really trying to give this man this job again? But then, I was trying to understand this, right? And so I'm like looking up terms. And so I looked up the term later afterwards. But what got me thinking about this and having me wanting to just do a solo episode to talk about it was that, we all know that Cat Williams had it. Well, if we don't all know, I don't know where you've been because the video got over 60 million views, right? But a lot of us know that Cat Williams did a interview on that Club Shay Shay back in early January, right? And he literally set the internet by storm. And one of the things he did was like he was talking about some folks that a lot of people tend to like, right? He talked about Steve Harvey. He talked about Ricky Smiley. He talked about Ced the Entertainer. He talked about a whole bunch of folks that other people seem to like, right? And when I was paying attention to the response, there are some folks who were saying like, I don't care what he's saying, he lying, because they really were supportive of the person that he was talking about, even though like you can some of the things he said make sense, and you can find you could be like, you know what, that's kind of true. Some people responded, others decide like, oh, I'm not gonna respond to a lie, go find love, who hurt you, they gave those kind of responses. But for the most part, most of the folks that he talked about didn't straight out come out and say, yo, homie, yo, sir, you're lying about me, right? So they didn't say that. So it's interesting that if what he said wasn't true, how is it that their response or their reaction to him was that what you're saying isn't true? People get to respond how they want to when they're offended or they're targeted or whatever. So I understand that. But it got me to thinking about when I saw folks' reaction to that. I was like, yo, y'all can't be confused about why people support Trump, because no matter what the records say, no matter what the evidence is, no matter what it is that he's done, they're just like, no, they're a fan of him, right? So I was looking this up, and then I found a term, and crazy enough that when I did go look up the term blind allegiance, I just kept seeing a certain former presidential, vice presidential candidate's book title. I'm not going to call her name because I am not going, but y'all probably could figure it out. But that's about as much as I'm going to say. I'm not going to call her name, but apparently that might be the name. That's the name of her book. And it just kept coming up. But I was looking at this whole idea of like blind allegiance, right? And what it says is that blind allegiance occurs when people pledge their loyalty without questioning the values and beliefs of the object of allegiance, right? You're not questioning the values and beliefs of the object of allegiance. This can be this can lead to groupthink, where people conform to the views of the group without critical thinking, resulting in irrational and harmful actions. Okay, so that's the only thing I can say about this whole 45 thing and the amount of support that this man has, regardless of what the record shows us, is nothing but blind allegiance, right? And people don't care if it's going to be harmful, and they don't care that their support for him is irrational. It's going to be what it is, right? And so again, listen, I'm trying to understand it. I don't understand it, because one of the things I try to do is think, and I'm not saying that there might not be some situations where I let my fandom get in the way, but I acknowledge it. I be like, listen, I don't care. I'm a fan. I like them anyway. So what, right? So I'm okay. But it for sure is not going to be about something as important as putting a person in office that was willing to attempt a coup d'etat on the United States. Like, I think there has to be some limits to what it is that you're about to do just because you like somebody, right? So like I said, I will admit that there might be some times where I'm just like, I don't care, right? But I really hope to think that it would never be about something that's as important as who we're going to allow to run and lead the United States, right? So Black folks, y'all know why them people supporting him, because you guys were willing to support some of those folks that Cat Williams was talking about, even though the record was showing that some of the things that Cat Williams saying was absolutely true, right? But you're like, no, I like this person more than I like him, so I am going to go ahead and believe what that person say and believe that Cat Williams is lying. And I'm not saying that some of the things Cat Williams said probably wasn't true, because I don't know the man like that, right? I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't really know half the people he was talking about. But, some of it made sense, right? Like a lot of it, made sense. And it really kind of took the world by storm. And then we fast forward, and I'm going to talk about another thing in pop culture, because I did say that in the description when y'all was waiting for this 15 minutes for this to start, was that also with the Monique interview, right? There's some things that she said. People are just like, I'm not listening to her, and they were very dismissive. And I'm not saying that she's not a polarizing person. I'm not saying that she's not a polarizing person in something, right? But one of the things that was interesting to me is that, how people were saying that she was difficult and she continues to complain, right? However, in the same breath, when they talk about her continuing to complain, what she's complaining about is like equal pay, Black actors and women getting their due in Hollywood, and not being, not being in the situation that, like, for example, Taraji P. Henson was in, where she was on the stage crying because she's been in the industry for 20 years and she getting the same amount of money she was paid 20 years ago. Listen, I'm a Black female attorney. I know that. I understand that, because some of the fees that I charge right now are fees that I was charging 20 years ago. It's very difficult for us to get raises, and no matter what our profession is, and we all know that. We can have a whole, maybe during Women's History Month, we'll have a episode about the disparity of pay for women in the workplace, no matter what level are you on. If it's just, service industry, you could be a professional, there is always this disparity in pay with women. And then when you throw Black women into it, listen, they're going to try to lowball us all day. And if you don't know or you don't demand more, you can't get it. And even when you know and you do try to demand more, there's some tough decisions you're going to have to make, whether you're going to take something or end up with nothing. And not everybody is in a position where they could say, you know what, I'm gonna take nothing because I'm gonna stand on principle. There's some people who can do that. There's a lot of us who can't, just because our realities is not that. Like, if yours is that, I'm happy for you. No hating over here. I'm glad for you. But there's some times where I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna have to do this. Now, am I compromising a whole bunch of morals and stuff like that in order for me to make that money? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I do know is that I've taken jobs where I do believe I should have gotten paid more, but the amount was still, it was respectable, even though I absolutely know I should have been paid more for the amount of years that I've had in the industry that I'm in. Now, that was a whole bunch of talk to just talk about this Monique point. So Monique, the things that Monique was complaining about is the disparity in pay. And folks keep saying that, why she keep complaining? Because, and I'm like, and y'all mad at her because she keeps complaining. But the reality is that this disparity in pay continues to exist. So she has a right, unless the situation is better, unless the situation has changed, it makes sense that she continues to complain because it has not changed. Now, has it gotten maybe a little bit better? Probably for some, but overall, that's still the reality of Black women, Black folk, women in the industry, women in Hollywood, is that they're not getting paid what they're worth. They're not getting paid what they're worth. So if that problem continues to exist, sound like she's right in continuing to shed light on it and to talk about it, right? She's right to do that. So we can't say, oh no, you need to stop complaining, when the things that she's complaining about continues to exist. So I understand that. So again, maybe because people, some folks don't like her or whatever it is, then they don't want to hear it from her anymore. But if she's the voice that's saying that, and it is making some impact and some change for some folks, so there's value in that, right? Now, Y'all might have some other problems with her. Maybe you don't like her husband. You don't like the relationship that she has with her children. Now, those concerns or constructive criticisms may be legitimate, but the idea that she needs to stop talking about what's going on in Hollywood when what she's talking about is still going on in Hollywood, and not only Hollywood, in real life, for real. To me, it's like, come on, y'all, like, don't do that. Like, don't do that, right? Because that's an absolute a real thing. So those were the 2 points that I wanted to make to kind of help us understand when we think we don't understand why people are supporting Trump. We do it too. We just do it on a different level, and maybe the stakes aren't, please, I don't think the stakes are as high. The fact that we're supporting either Cat Williams, Monique, or Ricky Smiley, or Steve Harvey, those things I don't think compare to what folks are doing when they're willing to put this person in office who, like I said before, was willing to have a coup d'etat in the United States in order for him to stay in power. You know what I mean? Those are things that we really have to think about. And I always think of his presidency, at least the first time when he won, was like, when you're up in the middle of the night and you're watching that infomercial and it just sounds all good. You be like, because he was like, I'm gonna drain the slum. America needs to be handled as if it's a business. I'm a successful businessman, and I know how to do that. Now we're starting to learn that he wasn't as successful as he said he was. Straight up con man crook, and he doing con man crook stuff too. So, but so when you hear that, and listen, the people were. There's a couple things that was happening. People was real mad that a black man became president, so folks were not a fan of Obama. So I think they kind of overcorrected by by electing Trump. However, he was talking about some stuff that if he really probably did some of those things, it might have been okay. Now, you bought that product from that infomercial, you got it to your house, you realized that it was nothing but hype. It ain't as good as they claim it to be. It was broke down. It was defective. It was cheaply made. There was a whole bunch of misrepresentation that took place, about what it is that it could do. And then you're like, I ain't gonna buy it again because the product didn't live up to what the promises were, right? So here we go. 45 did not live up to the promises that he made to Americans. He did not live up to that promise. And not only did he not live up to this promise, he just was spiraling the country into a place that was no good. We're talking, we had 3,000-4,000 people dying every day from COVID. We have like a deficit that's bigger than I think every president before him combined. Again, we have that image of the attempted coup d'etat on the United States. Now, there's still some individuals who was involved in that that needs to be prosecuted. And we're talking about the organizers of that, because those folks weren't able to get there by themselves. People who paid for them buses, people who spread that information over social media, those folks need to be held accountable too. So we're going to see what Merrick Garland is going to do about that, and whether or not he's going to hold these folks accountable and not just, always mess with the, the street soldiers and stuff like that. We kind of see that a lot of time, right? The corner boys get in trouble and the kingpin gets away and going on and legitimize themselves, and everybody forget that they're the real reason why the whole dope game was happening. So let's ask Merrick Garland. He needs to hold these organizers, the people that made this thing possible, accountable too, and not just the foot soldiers who found themselves dead because they got caught up, right? Because we can see how people get caught up, especially the way these algorithms are on social media right now, where you could get tunnel vision and only hear about what you think it is that you want to hear about, and people just get caught up. So much so that one of the guys tried to use that as a defense. Like, he was like, I was just caught up. The judge was like, yeah, but you did something wrong. And, even if you get caught up, there's consequences to that behavior, and you have to pay the price for that, right? So please, folks, talk to your people. They could be a fan of 45. They could like the fact that he's abrasive, but I need them to understand that he is not good for the United States. You may have problems with Biden because of his age, and maybe some things he did, because, he probably didn't take the proper stance on some immigration policies. Probably didn't take the stand on some immigration policies, and people might have some folks with that. But then when you, and again, you shouldn't only vote for someone because the alternative is so bad. But in this instance, the alternative is so bad that you please don't vote, Don't allow, and don't like not vote because the alternative is so bad. You need to vote because the alternative is like, I'm just not going to show up because I don't like none of them. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because that means that we could end up with this very bad alternative. And I also don't think people should bank on the fact that he might get convicted and then not be able to hold office as a reason to not go and vote. Don't do that either, right? You need to go and make a strong stance and support. For some people it's the lesser of two evils, but to me it's really not a choice unless we get somebody other than Biden that steps up to the plate to run for office and they're like a viable candidate. Then we do that. Otherwise, that's the direction that we need to go in because we have the record of 45. And if you compare that to what 46 is doing, to me it's no comparison. We had a guy that almost tried to have a coup d'etat in the United States. It wasn't not tried to, did. They won't call it that, but that's exactly what it was. And, America's better than that. And we really need to believe America's better than that. There's so many, a lot of the immigrants who came to this country, they were escaping and they left governments that's like what America could be if we continue along this path. And this is not what we want, right? This is absolutely not what we want, right? So, all right. So that was it on like 45. It's that whole blind allegiance. We understand that. Check yourself on that too. That's what's going on. So since we know that's what's going on, we need to counteract that, make our voices heard, go out and vote. Check your registration. Tell 5, 10 of your friends, check their registration. Make sure they're going to go ahead and vote. Starting in April, like I said, we're going to start bringing these candidates on to start, telling us about what it is that they want to do. And we're going to try to at least get some more Democrats elected. There's some seats that are nonpartisan, and I understand that. However, we're seeing what the Republicans are doing in Tallahassee. We're seeing what the Republicans are doing in Washington, D.C. And it seems that they've somewhat lost their way and they're not trying to do what's best for the American people. So we need to send folks there who's trying to do that. So if there's some sort of moderate Republican or something like that who might be doing that, we may, if they're going to vote against their party when their party is wrong, then we'll support that. But if they're going to just be voting party line, knowing what they're doing ain't right, we don't need that, right? We have infrastructure money that our governor is refusing to take. And we got infrastructure problems, particularly in Broward County. When it starts raining, y'all, and it's going to start raining again in the spring, half of y'all can't cross your street. Some of y'all can't even leave your house. That's an infrastructure issue that money would be able to do something for the county. But because, your governor is playing politics instead of being concerned with the residents of his state, we don't have that to make the improvements that need to take place in the United States, right? So it's important. Please don't take all of what's going on as a way to say I'm just not gonna vote. No. Please don't do that. Don't do that. All right. So the last segment, the last thing I'm gonna talk about before I give y'all back y'all time. Is this Broward County School Board, this School Board of Broward County. I don't know what to say about them people. So that's another one of them elections y'all need to pay attention to. It's a nonpartisan seat, so it's not about Democrat or Republican. But 5 of those seats are up in August. Well, August is a primary. If they get their 50+1, I think, then they don't have to worry about the general. They'll be the next person. If they don't, then they'll be on the ballot again in November. Listen, y'all, let me tell you that y'all need to pay attention to this school board race. You need to pay attention to all those school board races. And the people that are there right now, some of them are really there for the business of improving the lives of the students of Broward County, but we can't tell. We absolutely cannot tell that that's why they're there, because they're dealing with and doing everything but what's in the best interest of students of Broward County, right? Now, yesterday, Tori Alston, I want to say he's from District 2, which I think he's my school board person, and I found out that my city pays about 35% of our taxes to the school board of Broward County. So I'm invested. All right. So I think he's my rep. I think he is. Now, he was talking about how there was some information that were in closed sessions, that was in closed sessions, that was made, that he believes, and he called for an investigation. So I think he's going to stand on what it is that he said. He says that there needs to be an investigation because apparently there's some information that was part of closed sessions that made it to the BTU president, Anna Fusco, and she made some of that information public, and they pretty much decided, these board members allegedly made a deal with her for her to endorse them, because if you get the BTU endorsement, apparently that's a good thing, and that's how you end up winning your seat again, right? And they provided her with information in order for her to get BTU to support them during the upcoming election. If that's what's going on, that is absolutely no bueno. That we don't need. Those are the people that you need representing, because that person is not there to make sure the lives of students in Broward County is better, or they get the proper education. That person is there to keep their seat. And who knows why they want to keep their seat. It can't be because if you're doing a good job and you're doing what's needed and what's best for the students in Broward County, the people are going to vote you back in. But if you need to go tilt the scale, by providing information that shouldn't have been public to a person in order to get an endorsement, I don't think that's the character that we need on the Broward County School Board. So there are 5 seats that are up. I believe it's like 1, 2, I think 4 is Alherdef, so that's still good. 5 is up. District 5 is up. The at-large seat, which is either 8 or 9, that one's up. And I think what's her name has an opponent. Sarah Leonardi has an opponent. So we need to be real careful about what it is that we're doing. So District 1 is a seat that Daniel Fogenholly has. He was appointed to that seat because Rob Velez wasn't able to take the seat even after he won. District 2, Tori Alston is in that seat. He was appointed to that seat because of, some more shenanigans where people had to get kicked off the board. District, like I said, 3 or 4 are good. 5 is Jeff Holness. That's District 5. That seat is also up because it was taken over because the person who previously had the seat won her election and is now a state senator. So that seat is up. 6 is Brenda Pham. She just got elected, so she's good. 7 is Nora Rupert. She just got elected in 22, so she's good. 8 is that 8 might be the at-large seat that what's his name? Alan Zeman has. If that's not it, and that's Debbie Hickson's seat, then that seat is open. So the 8 and 9 seat are the at-large seat. Alan Zeman's seat is not up, but Debbie Hickson is up because she won in 2020. So that at-large seat is available. I need y'all to check their record. Check how they're voting. Pay attention to the things that they don't say, not only what it is that they're saying, and make a decision. They all, I believe, every single one of them have opponents. I will try to speak to as many of them as I can when I start the candidate interview series, and we'll see. But please, we really need to pay attention on what it is that these folks are doing, because at the end of the day, it's the kids that are suffering. They're out here blowing like $5 billion every year, because I think that's how big the budget is, and they're just everybody getting paid, and the kids are the one that's suffering, and that's just not okay. And they just voted, even with all of the alleged misconduct that was said, they all voted for the teacher raises, not knowing where the money gonna come from after next year, because they got like some COVID money or something like that. That's only for this year. That's a grant only for this year. So they done promised some stuff that they can't pay. There's a possibility that the governor's gonna say that they have to invest a certain percentage into the retirement plan for the teachers that are in the system. They don't got no money to cover that either, right? So y'all out here voting for more money, and that y'all don't know how y'all gonna pay for past this year, right? And then there's a possibility that you're gonna be on the hook for some more money that y'all don't know how you're gonna pay. People are bailing from the school, from the people are taking their kids out of the school system, and you can barely get teachers to work here because of all the level of dysfunction that's happening. So pay attention. We got an opportunity to switch out, or maybe keep some of those folks that are running, but just the ones that are really doing the business of the students. So, and if you can get 5 votes, let everything be 5-4 in the right direction towards the kids. You want to have 9-0, but if you can't get it, 5 is good, as long as they're going to be there doing the business of the children of Broward County, right? And then there was a skip of the line that happened that people aren't necessarily talking about. There was a plot of some land that was supposed to be sold to a hospital in the Parkland area, that the board just decided, like, nope, we ain't gonna do that. We're gonna give Parkland the right of first refusal and let them buy the land to do whatever it is that they want, whatever they see fit, right? I'm like, I'm not saying that ain't something that should have been addressed, but come on now, y'all. It's so many more things that should have been on that the school board should have been talking about before they started talking about that. So Parkland, they get their stuff done, they get their problem solved. People might not look at it as that, but that's exactly what happened. They got to jump the line, they got their problems resolved, and then y'all go back and squabble about whatever it is you're gonna squabble about. When there's schools that got mold in it that can't get no resolution, cafeterias that's too small can't get no resolution. But Parkland, they, it's like, yeah, we don't want y'all selling nothing, no Memorial Health System. Give us an opportunity to buy it first. So they skipped the line, got their issue resolved, and now they can go back and keep living their lives without no stress, because they ain't worried about their kids going to school with no mold in it, because their kids ain't going to school with no mold in it, because they just got like some state-of-the-art gymnasium or media center that has like good sound. You know what I'm saying? But then again, we got students with algae on the sidewalk, mold, ceilings falling, outdated equipment. But, that's what our school board is doing. I think this is where we're going to end this today. Happy Black History Month. I hope it was a good one. Oh, okay. So my last little pop culture thing, right? This is going to be a little bit of the nonsense part of the show, right? This is going to be a little bit. This is the last part, and it's going to be the little nonsense part of the show. Just because I don't know how much levity happened in the conversation today, but this is going to be the little last funny part. Well, kind of funny part. So apparently, there was a whole TikTok series now, and this. Listen, let me tell you why this is some Black history right here. Let me tell you this is some Black history, because Black folks always seem to be the one that finds a way to take social media platforms to another level. Ain't nobody knew that they could have a 50-part series on TikTok until Ressa Tessa did it, right? Ressa Tessa did it. Now we're gonna start seeing, like, people are gonna have all kind of series on TikToks right now. But there was a Black woman that decided that, you know what, I'm gonna use this platform to do something different, and it was innovative. And the girl went from, like, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of followers to like over 3 million right now. Had people spending 7 hours watching, and I am people. I watch things for different reasons though. I am people, but I did, right? Watching a 50-part series. So now, of course, there's going to be a whole bunch of 50-part series on TikTok now, when people didn't know they could do that until the sister showed them how to do that. The other thing, so let me, when I say Black people, the one that's innovative, I'm going to remind y'all of something else that Black people did on Instagram, right? Remember during the pandemic when we were all sitting in our houses trying to figure out what to do? And let me tell you, the arts got us through the pandemic. Act like it didn't. All these people who don't want their kids to be actors and dancers and singers and all of that kind of stuff, them folks got us through the pandemic, because what we was doing, watching TV, listening to music, doing that kind of stuff, because we were stuck in the house. So don't sleep on artists. They got us through the pandemic. All right. They got us through the pandemic. But what I wanted to say about that during the pandemic was that Swizz Beatz and Timbaland started that whole Versus series on Instagram. Broke the internet, right? Made Facebook and all them people step their game up, because they were able to get so many eyeballs online, right? So that was Black folks doing that. Even before the Versus series happened, DJ D-Nice had a whole virtual party, right? Had over 100,000 people watched. First time it happened, broke the internet. That was a brother that did that. Came with that innovation. Everybody in the house, we're going to start having party series. He parlayed that into now having DJ events throughout the United States in stadium-sized places, right? But all of that started online, and that was a person of color that did that. That's Black history. That's what we're doing. We're always, it happens 24/7, 365, but those are folks, Black folks that are innovative, that are doing things that we need to acknowledge them for. But that ain't why I wanted to talk about Rest Tesla, right? But I just, I'm just saying, like, she did something that's innovative. People are going to start taking it over. Now, I'm no blind allegiance here. All right. I respect what she did. I respect the innovation of what it is that she did. However, that sister, like if that was, I'm not saying what she went through wasn't traumatic, but let me tell you, girlfriend, I got some stories. We got some stories that rivals if all you was dealing with a pathological liar that was still paying all them bills, okay? Because I ain't saying Mr. Man wasn't no pathological liar and he ain't do you kind of bad. But I'm telling you, there's some sisters out there that gonna have some story like, yo, that's it. That's all he was doing was lying, but he was still paying all them bills. They might just go ahead and take that. So that's my little ratchet moment of the day. I'm done. Thank you very much for giving me your time. Stay in all the awesomeness. The last thing I wanted to say, which I didn't say when I was talking about all the politicking stuff, is that, be engaged, stay engaged, make sure y'all vote. Don't let nobody tell you that it's Black folk fault why the Democratic Party is in the state that it's in and the election results are what they are. It ain't us. It ain't our fault. All right, y'all, be good, be nice. Keep it Black. See you next time.